Next thing I've been working on is combating ballot harvesting. And I don't know how it is here in Hayes. I don't know how contentious the House seats are here, but my House seat in Leavenworth is one of the most competitive House seats in the state. I am the first Republican reelected there since 1994, and if you look on paper at the breakdown of my district, I shouldn't win. But I go to every door, and they know me, and I'm straight with them about how I'm going to vote, and they keep sending me back. But because on paper I shouldn't win that district, I'm always a nationally targeted seat. Because National Democrats are trying to break the supermajority for Republicans here in Kansas. Every year, my seat is nationally targeted. It's one of the top 10 or top 3 seats to flip. And so what that means is there are these nonprofits, these left-leaning nonprofits that nationally, all over the country, do this. And they focus on these targeted seats. And what they do is they use AI and big data, and they look down into my district at my voter rolls, and they find people who don't vote, but if they did vote, they would vote Democrat. And then they just send them mail-in ballot request after mail-in ballot request, pre-filled out, so the voter just has to sign it and put it in the mail, and they'll get a mail-in ballot. They just keep sending it to them until they get sick of receiving them, and then they sign one and they send it in. And it's a public record. Once you request a mail-in ballot, that is a public record. Anybody, you could go, the next election, you could go down and see your clerk and ask for a list of all the people who requested mail-in ballots, and they'll send it to you. So it's public record. So those folks that are sending all those ballot requests, they're watching to see who did I send a ballot request to and did they request a ballot. So then fast forward to 18 days before the election, because the mail-in ballot goes out 20 days before the election. 18 days before the election, I'm out in my district and I'm knocking on the doors of the people that I need to turn out to vote, to remind them to go vote. And all of a sudden in my district, there's all these college kids that are not from my district, and they're going to all the houses I'm not going to, because they're going to all the houses of Democrats who never vote. Which, why would I knock on the doors of somebody who never votes, let alone a Democrat who never votes, who's not going to vote for me? And so they're going to those doors because they know that those people requested a mail-in ballot. And they go up to their door and they knock on the door. Hey, I think you've got something in your mailbox. Holy cow, you've got a ballot in your mailbox. Would you like help filling it out? Would you like help turning it in? And then they take it back to the county courthouse. And in my district, my first re-election, I won by 144 votes. And I guarantee you they ballot harvested at least 200 votes. If they had ballot harvested 350 votes, I wouldn't have went back. So this is a problem. It's the industrial manufacturer votes. And so I've done a lot on this problem. The first thing we did was we require signature verification now. So on the outside of the envelope, the voter has to sign the envelope so that we know that that voter at least touched that ballot, right? And the clerks have to verify that signature against the voter registration, and if it doesn't match, they have to go to the voter or get the voter to come to them and cure that ballot. Something else that we did is we now restrict the number of ballots that one person can turn in to 10 ballots. I would have liked it to have been less, but I had to get 83 other people to vote for it so we could override a veto. So you can only turn in 10 ballots that aren't your own. So now in order to ballot harvest 200 ballots, instead of 2 people coming to my district, you have to send 20 people, so it's a little bit harder. And then the final thing that we did was we banned those pre-filled out ballot request forms. But they sued us on that, and it's enjoined in court. And actually, every one of these laws that we pass, we get sued on. Because the folks that are ballot harvesting, they hate when I call them this, so I call them this all the time, the Axis ballot harvesting. ACLU, League of Women Voters, Loud Light, Appleseed Coalition, these groups, they're awash in money, and whenever we pass one of these laws, they sue us because they want to keep ballot harvesting legal. They don't care about voter confidence. They don't want you to vote. They want the only votes counted to be the ones they harvest. So I got to thinking, I'm like, how do these people have so much money to sue us on every law? And so I did a little digging. and with the help of some folks from Heritage Action and a couple other organizations, Americans for Public Trust, what I discovered is that there's a loophole in our law. So if you are running for Secretary of State, or you're running for dog catcher, you're running for President of the United States, there's a federal law that says you cannot take 1 cent of money from a foreign national. You can only take donations from Americans. However, there was no law that said if you are campaigning for or against a constitutional amendment that you can't take as much money as you want from a foreign national. And you might think, well, golly, that's a conspiracy theory. How do you know? Well, they unpacked the funding for the Value Them Both Amendment. You remember we had an amendment on the ballot 2022 to say there isn't a right to an abortion in the Constitution. ACLU, hiding behind this moniker Kansans for Constitutional Freedom, it was ACLU, they spent $11 million on the Vote No campaign for Value Them Both. 1.6 million of that, I'm sure there's more money from other people, but they focused on one guy. 1.6 million of that money came from a foreign national. His name is Hans-Jörg Wyss. And through a group called Arabella that just changed their name because they got so much bad press, and the 1630 Fund, they gave 1.6 million to that campaign. In fact, we're getting off cheap because we don't have a ballot petition process where like people can collect a petition and put something on the ballot to go into the Constitution. Over in Missouri, they do have that process. And he spends tens of millions of dollars over there rewriting their Constitution. He has explicitly said that he's trying to turn red states blue by rewriting their constitutions. That's what he's trying to do with his money. I don't know about you, but I don't think that foreign nationals should be rewriting our Constitution. So I worked with Frank LaRose, who is the Secretary of State in Ohio, and a bunch of smart people, and we passed a law here that says that you cannot, if you're going to campaign for or against a constitutional amendment, you can't take foreign money. And I know I hit them where it hurts because they're suing me on that law too. But the reason they're fighting so hard is because money's fungible, right? If they get money from a foreign national to do the campaign for Value Them Both, they can take the money that they were going to use for that and they can go ballot harvest, or they can go, do, all kinds of weird things. They can do bots on social media to plus up all of their social media. They can do advertising and do all kinds of things because they're getting money to do the constitutional amendment campaign.